Hi guys, welcome to our new project called YTIT Talk, which we started together with the Institute to support our students and help them to learn something new. I'm your host, Iroda Karimova, and today I'm joined by Mr. Graeme Medd, Senior Lecturer in Urdu Linguistics, and our amazing professor.
Okay, thank you very much, Iroda. That's very nice of you. So, fire away. Ask me anything you like.
So we would like to go straight to the meat of our gathering. And the first question is, as we mentioned earlier, you are a linguist. How did you decide that this was your field? Have you tried other fields? And what advice would you have for those who are still looking for a way?
Okay, well, the answer to the first question, how did I decide what to do? This was my field. I kind of felt this from a very early age. Really from when I started studying French at school, I was about 11, I guess, or even maybe before. And certainly when I first went abroad, I thought, well, I want to do something where I can travel, because I knew I had to travel, and which connected with language. English, French, and then I did Latin at school, and I liked them all. So I thought, this is probably going to be for me, yeah? Have I tried other things? Well, yes. Before I became a teacher, I worked for 9 years. I was a farm worker, I was a factory worker, I worked in a discotheque, I was a barman in a discotheque, I was a gardener, I was a manager in a bookshop, I was a hospital worker. But when I actually tried teaching, when I was already 27, I thought, well, this is for me. I knew I could do it. I liked it.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah, well, mature is a different question. I was older. Being mature is a state of mind, right? So yeah, I mean, advice is always hard to give, but I would say you've got to do something that you like doing, yeah? Because you're going to be doing it for a long time. If it becomes your career, you're going to be doing it like forever and a day, right? Yeah. And so it must be something you enjoy, yeah? And so even if someone offers you, say, a well-paid job in the Hakimiyat, for example, right, and you don't like doing it, what does it gain a man if he wins the world but loses his soul, you know? It's very dramatic, but it's like that. You're going to be doing it a long time. You must enjoy what you're doing. That's about my answer to that.
Having come a long way in your profession and seen many situations, do you think that education is important or you can get it from experience?
Well, you certainly can get it from experience, and a lot of important and worthy people are self-taught. They've learned from experience. But I think education is important. I mean, for two reasons, at least two reasons, probably very many more. One is that it's a very competitive world these days, much more so than when I was growing up, yeah? So, for example, when I finished university, which was in the 80s, and that was late, nah? Having a degree was enough to get a job. You could more or less say, you could get a decent job if you had any degree, actually. These days it's not sufficient. Masters, probably we'll talk about that later. You need a master's to get a decent job. And, I mean, that's from the materialistic point of view, and also from your personal development, yeah? I mean, if an education makes you a more intelligent person, which hopefully it does, then we need it pretty badly, because the world is becoming more and more stupid. Yeah, stupidification of the world. I think it's happening, huh? And so we need to be smart, huh? Yeah. And the more things we learn, the better it is.
You have visited many countries, as I know. Which country's teaching method do you prefer and why?
Well, I'm an English teacher, but I'm not an all-round education expert. Yes, that's for other people. What I've seen is, for systems where you repeat things and you learn them by heart, they have a certain value, but they don't really ultimately lead to acquiring a language, yes? Yeah. I'd say any system. I like the British system, actually, even though I've been away from Britain for so long. The British system, which gives a certain amount of freedom and importance to the student is pretty good, I think, even now. Any system which puts the student first and gives the student freedom to make mistakes and pushes the student to actually think is got to be good. And we need, a bit of this also, yes?
Implement.
Yes. Yeah.
So you have been a mentor for many years. Do you think the master's degree is important?
Indeed, I do. As we said before, having a degree or a master's or even a PhD is not a kind of measure of someone's, goodness as a person or their intelligence. I mean, PhD probably is a slight measure, but we need them anyway these days. Yes. For example, I have two daughters, twin daughters, and they're both doing their second masters, in Spain. Why? Because there's kind of like degree inflation. Having a degree is not enough. I mean, even having certain masters is not enough. Yeah, there's a lot of competition for jobs. There's a lot of youth unemployment. So yes, unfortunately, this puts everyone in a difficult position because masters are expensive, and it puts parents in a difficult position also. I think they could be made cheaper. I think there could be government intervention. I'm not talking about here, everywhere, to make education more accessible. At the moment, it's a business, and I understand that because we're in this world. Yes. However, I think it should be a priority for many governments to make it accessible, especially to people of poorer families. It shouldn't be a rich person's thing. Yes. So yes, a master's is important, and I think you're going to ask me about studying abroad, perhaps studying a master's abroad. Can I jump the gun? We say, like in English, jump the gun. I think studying a master's abroad is an excellent idea, especially if one hasn't been abroad already. Yeah. As regards choosing the best place, again, like I said about choosing a profession or choosing your path in life, it's, don't go to a place, for example, like Germany, which has an excellent educational system, if you don't fancy living in Germany, right? It's cheap and it's good, but I just don't want to live there. Don't go. Because you've got to feel, you can't have everything you want. This is clear. Yes. But you've got to feel comfortable. You've got to feel in a place like where, okay, I belong here, kind of, yeah? Mm-hmm. So, if you're getting a high-class education, but you can't stand the place and you hate it, is it worth it? I think you have to research the place very thoroughly before you go, read a lot about it, find out about their social life, as much as you can, and then decide, yeah? Mm-hmm. Don't just decide on the basis of, wow, it's cheap, or wow, it's prestigious. That's not enough. You've got to feel good about it to be motivated, right?
Yes. So, what do you think of the phrase, in today's fast-changing world, it's not enough to know only English, you need at least one more language? Absolutely.
I mean, the more you know of anything is good, yeah? I'm talking about skills. I'm not talking about, the number of American presidents you can memorize, for example, which is not actually learning. This is memorization. I think it's absolutely clear because English gives you access to research, to materials in different languages, possibility of working in different countries. But English is still not universal, not as universal as some people think. Yeah. So, for example, if you're thinking of living in Korea long term, you need to learn Korean, yes. Right? If you're thinking of, China is your thing, is your, project, if you like, you need to learn Chinese or Japanese if you're talking about Japan, right? So, English definitely not enough. But if you, for example, for Uzbek students, I mean, if you learn Uzbek and Russian, hopefully Russian will still continue to be learned. I feel a kind of an anti-Russian current at the moment, linguistically, which is I'm very much against. Already the bilingual, right? With English, they're going to be trilingual. So, you know, the more you learn, the easier it becomes in many ways, yes? I'd say definitely you need another language. Diplomats, for example, in the diplomatic university, or people who are studying diplomacy, they have to have two languages, English and another. It's obligatory, right? So Spanish, Arabic, of course, Arabic for Muslims, obviously it's a big plus, huge plus, right? So yeah, English is not actually enough as a foreign language.
How does the practice of learning differ from the practice of communicating with real people?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. Well, I think it's clear. In a classroom, you can rewind and do it again, you know, and say, "I'm sorry, Aziz, can we start again? Can you do?" And you practice until you get it right, you know.
At least you can ask.
That's right. But in real life, I mean, you don't have a second chance sometimes, right? And so you get more stress and tension in real life, of course, communications. But actually, I think, on the other hand, that's where you learn a lot. That's not denigrating classroom learning. Classroom learning is important. Because if you go into the real world, for example, if I go to Russia tomorrow, right, I'm not going to get by very much. Well, I know some, actually. But if I had gone like a year ago to Russia, without any classes, without any learning, I'm zero. I'm not going to take advantage at all because I don't have a basis, right? Yeah. Right, so, yeah, I mean, real life is unpredictable. Yeah. In the classroom, it's predictable, more or less. You know what's going to happen, right?
At least we should combine them.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you can't. We've got to have a basis in language. You can't start from just zero and say, I'm going to learn this in a month because I'm living in Italy, so I'm going to learn Italian. But you've got to have some grammar. If you don't learn Italian grammar, you're not going to learn Italian.
Of course.
It's like this, you know.
How it works?
Hey.
So next question is, from the linguistic point of view, why is it easy for some people to learn 5 or 6 languages and some people find it difficult to learn one language other than their native one?
Right, well, we referred to this a little bit already. Yeah. So, I mean, here in Uzbekistan, young people, at least until recently, they had a bilingual upbringing, or they got, not every family, of course, but they got access to Russian from a very early age. And that is an advantage, you know, so that 2 languages and then another one should be easier in theory. Research tends to show that it is. Actually, that bilingual people or 2-language people acquire languages more easily. Here you've got another argument, you've got another factor, which is the nature versus nurture question, you know. So was he born a criminal or did he become a criminal, right? Are you born smart or do you become smart? Are you born good at languages or do you become good at languages? And I think I'm sitting on the fence here, this is an idiom, I'm sitting on the fence, because some people are clearly smarter than others, yes? Some people also are clearly better at languages than others, yeah? Any teacher will tell you this, any student can tell you this, you're watching the people in their class, yes? However, I think the overriding thing in learning a language, and probably learning anything, is your intention. Yeah, it's the human intention. If you really want to do something and you're motivated to do it and you make a decision, I'm going to try and do this, your natural, shortcomings can be overcome. And this, in human history, you can see this, people with disabilities climbing Everest and stuff like this, This is, of course, we're not on that level, but that's just about learning languages in general. Yeah, and some people just have the knack. You see these people in the Guinness Book of Records, some guy's 34 languages and some dialect in the Amazon he speaks, and he's never been there. He's never even seen these people, right? Some people are just good at it. It's probably a field for psycholinguistics, for analysing the brain, yeah? But, I mean, definitely people can learn 3 or 4 languages, absolutely.
They're capable.
Yes, absolutely. It's a question of wanting to. These days people don't want to do anything except the minimum, this is a big problem for our students also. I just want to get enough to pass my degree, I just want to get the focus shouldn't be on passing or getting the degree, the MA, the focus should be on learning, actually learning something which is then yours. doesn't belong to anyone else. It's yours. You can take it anywhere. That's my, sorry, I'm preaching. That's a bit of preaching there, though. That's what I believe. Yeah, I mean, I've learned some languages quite easily, and I've stumbled and you know, having difficulties, for example, with Russian. Например. Yeah, but I'm going to keep at it because I need it.
Russian is tough, so. I'm doing amazing.
You know, Russian speakers don't say that. They say, oh, other languages are difficult. No.
Okay. In Uzbekistan, there are many educational centers that teach the language in groups. Do you think teaching in a group is effective, or is it worth learning individually?
Okay, yeah. I'm going to sit on the fence. I'm going to defend both sides, like a devil's advocate almost, yes? No, I mean, I think learning in a group is preferable. It's preferable. I've learned better in a group than alone. Why? Because you make friends in the group, you can measure yourself with other people, you can compete in a good way, not in a negative way, say, you know, in a positive way. And you can spur each other on, you can motivate each other, and you can learn from other people's mistakes, yes? But, of course, you've got to do your homework. I know this is very old-fashioned, I sound like an old-fashioned teacher. You've got to do something individually, because you need to consolidate, yes? I mean, we're you know, the students at Iroda, we're minimum 17, right? We're not kids anymore, we're not babies, you know. I had 2 children myself, bilingual children, Spanish and English, right? They learnt from a very early age. They sucked it up like a sponge. I read them bedtime stories in English. I played them Bob SquareSponge Pants and Barney the dinosaur, you know, and they just sucked it all up like a sponge, yes? By the time you're 17, this doesn't happen like that. So you need to review, you need to use the brain, which is now developed, in a different way. Yeah, you need to do work on your own. And except for very gifted people, if you don't do the work on your own, then you're not going to make the progress. Yeah.
That's tough truth.
Right, it's true, but it's actually, if you can see that it's worth doing, you know, if you're focusing on learning for you, not only for passing the degree and, you know, making your parents happy and becoming a good marriageable person, you know, which there's too much emphasis on these things, yes? Knowledge is in itself a gift, an important thing, yeah?
Yes,
that's what I think anyway. And I think all the big religions in the world, they agree also.
Absolutely.
So, Iroda, any final question perhaps?
No, thank you, Professor, for coming.
That's great.
I enjoyed this.
Yeah, we can do this again anytime you like.
Of course.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.